Canada has got to think for itself. Make a vehicle that is one that many Canadians can drive.
You could make $5 or $10 billion disappear and have nothing to show for it.
Do we have the people? Yes. Do we have the know-how? Yes. But do we have the desire and the passion?
Good.
Earlier this year, Prime Minister Mark Carney met with President Donald Trump for the first time. And when that meeting was almost over, Trump said something that really could change Canada forever.
We want to make our own cars. We don't really want cars from Canada. We put tariffs on cars from Canada, and at a certain point, it won't make economic sense for Canada to build those cars.
If Donald Trump were to get what he wants and the Canadian auto industry fails, the repercussions would be massive. By any measure, cars drive our economy. Thousands of jobs, billions in GDP. So what do? Well, what if one of the ways to protect Canadian manufacturing was to build a Canadian car? Is that even feasible? And what would it mean for the country?
The steel comes in on the press.
Meet Rob Wildeboer. He's the co-founder of Martin Ray International, one of the biggest auto part makers in the country.
When I was 7 years old, it was Canada's 100th anniversary. We were the third richest country in the world. At that time, we just built the St. Lawrence Seaway, which was a monumental project. We built the highest tower in the world. We thought big. That's how we got to be thinking here. Think big, make a car, make a great car. So we do a lot of chassis parts, and the chassis is basically the base of the vehicle.
If you're thinking to yourself, we're going to make a car, a Canadian car, isn't that a crazy idea? It turns out Rob kind of agrees with you.
Well, when we started this auto parts company, people said, "What are you doing? We got lots of auto parts companies." They thought we were nuts. They thought I was nuts. I had no auto parts background. The world's changed by people with crazy ideas. So let's follow some crazy ideas and make them successful.
Rob's sure done that with his own company. He co-founded Martin Ray in 2001. 20 plus years later, they now pull in $5 billion in revenue.
We have a lot of wealth in this country, like you said.
It's not just Rob who's interested in the idea. The president of the Automotive Parts Manufacturing Association, Flavio Volpe, is too. He says the expertise to build Canadian already exists. Flavio represents 250 Canadian automotive supply companies.
So we've made 120 million cars in this country since 1904. Okay? So we know how to make cars. We're currently making them for 5 automakers who have heavily invested in this country. We do all this together. If we have everything that will make these companies from the US and Japan and Germany profitable and solid, how is it not true for Canadians? I said, you're nuts.
Listening to Flavio, it's hard not to get caught up in his optimism.
100 million people buy new cars a year. They know that car. They cheer for them like a home team. Let's give them a Canadian team to cheer for. The fastest, the most expensive, the most...
Flavio is calling for a feasibility study into what it would take to build a Canadian car.
Do you think Canadians would buy a Canadian car out of pride?
Yes, the first batch.
Yeah.
And then
it's got to make it on quality. It's got to deliver. It's got to deliver a product. It's got to meet the needs of people.
Yeah. So this is the Mini Baja vehicle. Why don't you guys explain what you got here?
Canada can even consider building its own car because of places like this.
A double A-arm setup. We have our...
The lab at the Automotive Engineering program at the University of Windsor. This is where Peter Fries teaches students how to build a car.
That's the Schrader valve there, so you know it's an air shock.
Peter is an engineer who specializes in automotive. He makes a point of telling his students how tough the business is.
That one was red. So arrive early, stay late, ask good questions, and listen when your boss talks to you.
Peter has given a lot of thought to the idea of a Canadian car, and he has concerns.
I think a lot of people would love to see a Canadian car. I would, but who is going to step forward from the private sector to invest the money to get a big car company going, a credible car company that can make credible products that are competitive in the marketplace? And we're talking billions of dollars, billions.
Is this one of those times when you have to separate your heart from your head?
You can't make emotional decisions about money and technology. These are much too complicated, much too expensive to make on an emotional basis. You can see how body structures are put together. All these little dimples here,
let's say if somebody wanted to design a brand new car, what's the timeline on that?
It takes between 2 and 5 years to design a new car. I mean, you could design and build a great car and have no customers. The car companies compete ferociously to get a few tenths of a % of market share gain. This car company will have no track record, and I'd be concerned that there will not be enough customers to sustain this.
Peter points out that this has actually happened. You may not have heard about it, but in the mid-70s in New Brunswick, they made the Bricklin. At the time, Premier Richard Hatfield said some things that really could apply to Canada today.
We in New Brunswick, in the opinion of many, are not supposed to be in the business of producing automobiles. We are supposed to be hewers of wood and drawers of water. We are supposed to be content with smaller dreams.
The Bricklin was a disaster. It flamed out in a few years. They only built about 3,000 cars.
First of all, don't build a sports car. I love sports cars. I own a sports car, but not very many people buy sports cars.
So the Bricklin is a cautionary tale.
Yes, it's a cautionary tale of what can happen if you build the wrong product in the wrong place and don't have a market. You could make $5 or $10 billion disappear and have nothing to show for it.
That's the risk, and it's a serious one. So is there anyone who would consider investing in a Canadian car?
I am the guy that you would go to say, I have a Canadian solution. I provide the capital for those entrepreneurs who want to build Canada.
Meet John Ruffalo, venture capitalist and founder of Mavericks Private Equity. He backed Shopify from the very beginning. He tells me what he's looking to invest in today.
In the case of Canada right now, our focus on our investment fund is those things that are critical to the sovereignty and security of this country. And transportation is something that is critical. I love the idea or the aspiration of a Canadian car.
John believes that today we shouldn't depend on other countries to build our vehicles. And he sees Trump's threat to Canada's sovereignty as a wake-up call.
President Trump actually gave Canada a gift. It's really the first time that Canada or Canadians are looking back and saying, how did we allow ourselves to get into the vulnerable position that we are in? We're now looking at how do we build things for ourselves. I have never seen more energy in my entire career about Canadians actually building for their own control and mapping out their own destiny.
Whether a Canadian car actually gets built or not, dreaming big again can't be a bad thing.
What would it mean to you if a Canadian car got built?
Well, I'd buy one. I'd buy one, and I'd make sure my kids buy one too. If you think about a Canadian car, it's a symbol of our independence. It's a symbol of our talent. But you have to show it. You got to prove it. Talk is cheap. You got to get it done.